it's okay to piss some people off. It's okay to have some people angry with you if you're creating a following that loves what you do.
Welcome to the Storm. I'm your host, Stuart Winchester. If you don't know about Mount Bohemia, it is one of the most unique ski areas in the country. And you're probably thinking, Stu, it's in Michigan. And I know that, but it is a checklist spot for any skier from anywhere. And we're going to get into why Boho is so special in just a moment. First, I am stoked to tell you about a brand new partner today, Island Snow Bus. Hey, Long Island and Queens skiers. I know you have a long way to drive for skiing. Trust me, I am right around the corner from you and I'm doing the same commute. If you are tired of waking up in the middle of the night and driving alone up to the bump, then skiing alone and driving all the way home after a ski day, give Island Snow Bus a try. With pickups throughout Suffolk and Nassau counties and eastern Queens near the Whitestone Bridge, Island Snow Bus plans single and multi-day trips to some of the well-known ski areas in the region, including Stratton, Killington, Mount Snow, Jay Peak, Sugarloaf, Whiteface, Gore, Bel Air, and Hunter. That is a good winter right there. If a big storm rolls through, Island Snow Bus will also throw together a pop-up trip. Island Snow Bus offers packages that include both lift tickets and transportation, or if you have your own pass, just the bus ride. It is an early pickup, but then you can crash out and be ready to ski upon arrival. There are always plenty of other folks looking for someone to ski with. To check out Island Snow Bus's 2025 to 26 winter calendar, visit islandsnowbus.com and use code STORM for $50 off your first trip. I also want to thank all of my paid subscribers for supporting my mission of independent ski journalism. You can upgrade to the paid tier anytime at stormskiing.com, and that will guarantee you access to 100% of the Storm's content. You can also support the Storm by picking up a hat, hoodie, t-shirt, sticker, or other merch at the Storm store at stormskiing.myshopify.com. We did throw some new designs in there recently. Please also follow the Storm on X, Instagram, or YouTube at Storm Ski Journal. You can now watch the podcast, and while it is an identical audio product, there are some extra visual goodies to look at, both at YouTube and at stormskiing.com. All right, let's get into episode 219 of the Storm Skiing Podcast. Lonnie Gleiberman, owner, founder, and president of Mount Bohemia, Michigan. My guest today is the founder, owner, and president of Mount Bohemia, the largest ski area in Michigan and one of the most unique ski areas in the country. With no beginner runs, no grooming, and no snowmaking, Boho offers skiers a mostly gladed, 600-ish acres fed by nearly 300 inches of annual lake effect snowfall off of Lake Superior. He is a very good friend of the Storm, making his second appearance on the Storm Skiing Podcast. Lonnie Gleiberman is my guest. Lonnie, welcome back to the Storm with video this time. How you doing today, Lonnie?
Good. We're gearing up for the season. Our season pass sale, of course, goes November 26th to December 6th. So we're in full operation mode, ready for the season.
So let's get into that season pass sale, Lonnie. This podcast, we're recording it on November 19th, but this is scheduled to go live toward the end of your pass sale in early December. So some changes to the season pass suite this year as far as pricing and access goes. Why don't you break that down for us, Lonnie? What is different this year about Bohemia's season passes?
Yeah, so it's still a 10-day sale.
Mm-hmm.
It ends December 6th, and that's it. It's a hard stop. Our season pass, the $99 one, which was our original one, is now Sunday through Thursday. So it's a 5-day week pass. It also gets you year-round access to the Nordic Spa, except in the wintertime, it's Sunday through Thursday. So that's a change. Last year it was Sunday through Friday. Now it's Sunday through Thursday. And that's giving local people a way to save money and keeping them out of the busier times. The other pass, the other one-year pass, is $112. So it's up $3 from last year, when it was $109. That pass is 7 days a week, no blackouts, year-round access to the Nordic Spa. Of course, we got a 2-year pass that went up from $175 to $179. I believe we're the only ski resort in North America that's selling a 2-year pass.
The only one I'm aware of.
And I'm not sure why, because it makes life a lot easier for us and for the customer.
Mm-hmm.
And the 2-year pass does still have the rollover, which means that if you miss a year, you have an extra year to use it. So you buy it a 2-year pass, you have 3 seasons to use it over. You have 3 seasons to utilize that pass, whichever 2 you pick. And then of course there's the lifetime pass, which is $14.49, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good for 75 years.
So let's start with the $99 pass. That was for a long time the unlimited pass price. Then a few years back, you removed Saturdays from that, or at least Saturday daytimes. And then now you're taking off Fridays as well. So talk about that decision, Lonnie, and why Friday rather than Sunday.
Friday is a bigger day than Sunday for us.
Mm-hmm.
Friday, the Sunday attendance and Friday attendance is very similar. The difference is our Sunday crowd, a lot of the people in the morning are gone by 1,
mm-hmm.
and a lot of the locals come at 1 o'clock and ski till 5.
Okay.
So it's not as congested as a Friday. So we're just trying to move people out of the Friday.
So talk about the decision to eliminate Fridays. I know that product consistency is important to you. So I'd imagine there was a deliberative process here. So talk us through the decision-making process here and why you felt that you had to take Fridays off as well as Saturdays from the $99 price tier.
Because we want to keep a certain experience on Fridays, and Fridays are growing for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's still not bad, but we know that if we don't do something, and we're just trying to give people that live 30 minutes away or 20 minutes away or 40 minutes away an incentive to save money and stay with us Sunday through Thursday.
So how much your social media is pretty active and you're pretty transparent with it. I haven't frankly looked to see if you've explicitly outlined these changes in a social post. What's the reaction been like so far? Because I find that everything you do tends to get a huge reaction at Boho.
Everything we do usually gets a huge reaction on social media. Our pass, not so much. Everyone's pretty excited about the pass sale. It's been relatively non-controversial in comparison to Nordic Spa editions or Tiki bars or zoning issues. That one's been relatively quiet.
How does it compare to the decision to take Saturdays off a few years back?
You know, people, actually our regulars kind of liked it because they saw it as a way to knock people out,
mm-hmm.
and locals saw it as a way to save money. Mm-hmm. So that one has been kind of, both sides appreciate that offer.
So it's funny when we really get down to it. I mean, in an era where headlines are talking about $300+ lift tickets at some of the big ski resorts in North America, we're talking about a $13 difference between a $99 Sunday through Thursday pass and a $112 7-day-a-week unlimited pass. So since you made that change a few years back, Lonnie, and you went to $109 was the original price for the 7-day-a-week pass, what's the split been like? Have you found that a lot of skiers are just saying, well, it doesn't really matter, it's just $10 and upgrading? Or are you still getting the split I hear with Icon and Icon Base, for example, is that about 90% go base and there's that 10% who go full Icon. I know that's several $100 difference, but I'm curious what you're seeing as far as customer patterns of buying the more expensive product.
It's funny because it's 10-1 the other way. So 10% buy the $99 one.
Okay.
And 90% buy the full $112 a year pass. We're also selling the Nordic Spa year-round pass at the same time in this pass.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a number of people who are using the Nordic Spa that are buying our season pass now that never even ski.
Mm-hmm.
We estimate 15% of our pass holders that are buying the ski pass are Nordic Spa people. And so a number of them are saying, why go to the spa on Saturday? I can save money and go on the less busier days. So it's also driving people that are Nordic Spa people to stay out of the Nordic Spa on Saturdays.
And we'll get into the Nordic Spa more in a little bit. I want to talk about the lifetime pass. You rolled this out, I think 3 or 4 years ago, and you may have piloted this in earlier seasons. And I believe you set a limit of 100 per season on it. How has this product been going for you? Are you getting good momentum there?
Yeah, we sell about 100 a year, and that's what we want to sell. Last year was a little higher, but we want to keep it around the 100 mark. We don't want to, we like selling it. We don't want to oversell it.
Right. And is this, you explicitly called out the 2-year pass as a missed opportunity by the ski industry. Do you think the lifetime pass is something that has a broader market as well? Or is this just a very specific thing to your ski area?
We like it. It comes off the Disney World timeshare model.
Mm-hmm.
And the Disney Vacation Club sells you a vacation club, which is you get lodging for say 7 days once a year for like 75 years at Disney World or 50 years at Disney World. And I went to learn that, and I wanted to learn what they were doing. And what Disney says is the value of that is that you buy a Disney Vacation Club membership, you're coming down there every year to buy park tickets, food, merchandise, and you're bringing friends and family with you that are going to buy park tickets, food, merchandise. So while the Disney Vacation Club pays off in 9 years, our lifetime pass pays off in 9 visits.
Okay.
Our lifetime members, on average, bring us 3 to 4 new pass holders in just the first 5 years of owning that pass.
Mm-hmm.
We've only been doing it for 5 years, so we don't know the full length, but the average lifetime pass holder brings us new revenue. And because they have a lifetime pass, they're going to stay with us year in and year out because they're already paid for, and they're going to buy food and drink. So you can look at it as a lost leader in some ways, but in a lot of ways, you've got that person locked in for life, and they're going to grow their family with your ski. So I see it as a missed opportunity, but what do I know?
The word timeshare always makes me nervous because it implies continuous fees, but this is just you buy it and you're done.
Don't misconstrue that. It's just we're copying the idea that Disney creates lifetime buyers of their park tickets, food, and merchandise by selling them a Disney Vacation Club. In our case, we don't have timeshares to sell. Our lifetime pass is our back way of doing that. And the customer then stays with us, eats with us, drinks with us, buys merchandise, and best of all, they bring us new pass holders. So
you mentioned the day ticket. So here's an interesting note. Your day ticket this year will be $99. And when you came on the podcast in 2022, I think your day ticket was around $89 or $92. And I asked if you could foresee a day when the day ticket was more than the season pass. And we haven't quite gotten there yet, but we are at the point where a $99 one-day lift ticket is the same as the Sunday through Thursday pass. So talk about that dynamic a little bit, Lonnie, and how you envision this evolving in the future.
Yeah, I mean, eventually it's going to be, next year it'll be higher than the 1 year pass, no question about it. It includes the Nordic Spa. It needs to be noted that the $99 day ticket includes access to the Nordic Spa, which is a $49 value on top of the value you get for the skiing. The people who buy the pass, the season pass, those are our valuable customers. We reward them for buying the pass during the sale. Those that want to come during the season, they're welcome to, except for Saturdays. But it's $99. That's the value we think we're giving you during the winter season if you want to wait to buy your pass.
Yeah, there's no question a day at Bohemia is worth $99. It only looks expensive in the context of the pass. Given how successful your season pass program has been and how widely known it now is, do you still get day ticket buyers? Is that still a material percentage of your business?
We still get them, yeah. There's still a percentage. Now,
who do we got there? That's who's joining us?
Oh, that's my dog, Gash.
Okay.
He's a Catahoula.
Nice.
My beagle Bo passed away in June, but
I'm
he's
sorry.
no, that's okay. Yeah, he was a great dog. Cat, he's a little kooky compared to the beagle, but he's a good guy. Catahoulas are Louisiana hunting dogs.
Okay.
I didn't know that. We adopted him. I adopted him with my ex-girlfriend at the time,
Uh-huh.
spur of the moment from the Sheboygan Humane Society. But he's actually a pretty good guy, and he's calm right now, so no birds are out there.
Does he like
But
the
anyways,
snow?
what's that?
Does he like-
He does. Unlike the beagle, he's okay with the snow because he's
Okay.
Louisiana.
Yeah.
He gets a little cold, but
Okay.
he's a good guy. He's a good guy.
All right.
So back to the question you were saying is,
So the $99 lift ticket being the same price as the season pass.
yeah, I mean that's we reward the people that buy the season pass, and we still get a percentage of those people that do the day ticket. Many of them just heard about us, and many of them come to Bohemia because their buddy bought the season pass.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, the value of those season pass holders is not only do they buy the pass, not only do they buy the lodging from us, but they bring friends. And those friends miss the sale because they didn't know about it. They buy the day pass. They will usually spend like $300 with us. Then next year, those people become pass holders. So about 40% of our day buyers, when we've studied it, the next year turn into season pass holders.
So you mentioned Saturdays, and you don't sell Saturday lift tickets until 2 p.m. You started doing that a few seasons ago. Seems like you're happy with it. Is it the right move? And just talk about the problem of Saturdays in general, Lonnie.
Well, we want to keep it a good experience for people who buy the season pass. We're rewarding them again for their loyalty. So we don't want long lift lines. So by getting rid of Saturday day tickets till 2:00, and I want to say clearly that there's no guarantee that we're going to sell tickets at 2:00. Many years we've relented and done that, but I want to make sure we're on record saying that there's a 50% chance that we'll sell 0 on Saturday. There's a 50% chance we'll sell from 2 p.m. onwards. There's a 0% chance we'll sell them in the normal morning hours. The reason for this is you got to reward those pass holders, and we reward them by keeping the lift lines, in our opinion, on average, less than 6 minutes on a Saturday. Our goal is to keep the lift line 6 minutes or less on a Saturday, and we're able to do that by knocking off 400 day buyers that would have bought tickets from us for the day.
How hard has it been to get that messaging out? Do you have to talk down people who drive up? Because Bohemia is not really convenient for anyone. So has that caused some confrontations for you personally?
Yeah, it does. It's uncomfortable. We feel bad about it, but nothing. But what would be worse is the season pass holder having to wait 17 minutes in a line versus 4 minutes in a line. It makes a big difference. And a powder day, if we sold day tickets, that 400 could turn into 900 more people. And now you've got a very bad situation for everybody. So the key thing is that we try and keep the capacity at a healthy number and reward our pass holders.
So is this a problem for you every single Saturday where you have to deny someone?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's the sadness. I mean, yeah, it happens every Saturday. There's more awareness now, but no question there's lots of sad stories.
Should put a big sign out front, no Saturday lift tickets.
Well, I mean, yeah, they're already there. They're going to come in. They're going to come in and talk to us anyways. But we try and communicate best we can through social media. They're just not used to it. The biggest challenge you have is I'm not sure anybody else is saying no Saturday day tickets. So it's a little bit of a abnormal thing. But we march to our own drummer, and we know our pass holders are essential, and so we're going to protect them.
Well, hopefully they're going down the road to Ripley and getting some.
Which is a great place.
Yeah, it's a nice little ski area.
Ripley's a great ski area. Really great place.
So the only other ski area that I'm aware of that explicitly, because a lot of them limit or say they limit. I'm not so sure if that actually happens, but the only one that will not sell tickets on certain weekends is Powder Mountain in Utah. And they started with no Saturdays or Sundays in February. And I believe they're expanding that zone. I think, Lonnie, the ski industry has done a pretty good job with holidays.
and blacking out the 3 major holiday periods in U.S. skiing, they haven't done a very good job with weekends. And I think Saturdays are the ski industry's biggest problem because they create a lot of these lift line pictures that go viral. Why do you think the ski industry hasn't done a better job of managing mountains on Saturdays? And what, in your opinion, is the solution? Is it going to a Boho style model?
I don't want to speak for everybody else, but there's a quote that we always use at Bohemia that I got years ago from a radio executive, and it's a quote that we live by. And too many brands are busy too many companies are busy building a brand that no one will hate versus a brand that someone will love. And what that quote says is, it's okay to piss some people off. Mm-hmm. It's okay to have some people angry with you if you're creating a following that loves what you do. And just like we don't groom a little bit, we don't groom, which means we piss off all the people that want grooming, okay? We don't have beginner runs. We piss off families that want a place for their kid to learn. We're okay with that because we create a brand that some people love. And people have passion for Bohemia. So we follow this book called Cult Branding. It's a great book. Cult Branding, I highly recommend it. They talk about Jimmy Buffett, a guy that had, I don't know if you like Jimmy Buffett?
Yeah. I've been in one of his shows. It was great. It was a lot of fun.
Okay. He's only had 2 top 40 hits his whole life, but he sold out concerts for like 30 years straight because his market loved him. Those who like Jimmy Buffett go to his concerts and love him. His audience is not deep, but it's very passionate. And he was an example they used in the brand. They used, back then it was Harley Davidson. The book's dated, of course. And I think Ferrari was in there. But so the moral of the story is that ski resorts, I think, are scared to piss off anybody. But with those long lift lines, you're pissing off everybody anyways. But it's a difficult thing. I mean, we have an easier master because we don't care about a lot of segments of the audience. Mm-hmm. We're not trying to sell you condos. We didn't sell you a condo. So we have a lot more freedom to be a little bit more brash.
One of the mistakes that I thought the ski industry made in the 1990s was trying to make every ski area for everyone and basically trying to make everything a mini version of a destination resort. And what Bohemia proved, from my point of view, is that the marketplace has room for a niche ski area that's not all things to all people, a ski area that is explicitly for one kind of people. And I think that more ski areas are realizing that. Do you think about that influence line? Do you see the ski industry getting smarter about how they position themselves and mountains trying to more specifically be for certain audiences than for everybody?
I see a little bit of it, not much yet, but you're right. In the 90s, though, it did go broad, like almost like a cruise ship.
Yeah.
Raising Cane's, what a horrible idea. All he sells is chicken fingers, right? And French fries and Texas toast. Mm-hmm. He's eliminating all the people that want pizza and hamburgers and fish sandwiches. Guess what? The guy's worth $20 billion. His professor gave him a D on his thing and said, no one is ever going to just sell chicken fingers. If you narrow the focus, you strengthen the brand. That's a direct quote. I'm plagiarizing from the 22 Immutable Laws of Branding from Al Reese. Great book also, I would say. Mm-hmm. When you narrow the focus, you strengthen the brand. And I think that the ski industry, some places are meant to be broad-based. And some places, like a Mount Baker, a narrow focus is really beneficial. Mount Baker's a great place with a great following. And narrowing the focus, Ferrari, Raising Cane's for chicken, they have a lot more passion than people say have for Burger King. Like there's just no, Burger King's fine, it's adequate, but nobody is like super excited. But Raising Cane's, people go to Instagram with their pictures after they go there because it's a very narrowly focused, but great chicken, great French fries, and a great business plan. And so we believe that's that you play to your strengths. Mount Bohemia doesn't have beginner terrain, not because we don't like beginners. We don't have any beginner terrain. Let's play to our strengths. Some places might be just perfect just for beginners. You should play to your strengths. If you're an NFL team and you got a great quarterback and you don't have any running backs, you're going to throw the ball. And in our case, we've got great expert terrain. We're going to run it as an expert place.
Sometimes it makes sense how to do that. So I think the Twin Cities ski areas, for example, have done a really good job of differentiating. So Highland Hills is your park area, and they have this demographic of kids. They're super high volume. They do about 200,000 skier visits a year with a tiny parking lot because most of it's drop-off business, right, of kids with parents. Go over to Buck Hill, it's more of a racer's hill. Go to Afton Alps and Welch Village, they're more of those family, everything to everyone because they're bigger and they're sprawling. It gets a little trickier, Lonnie, as you go north, I think, and it's really fascinating that you have been able to build up this brand in the Upper Peninsula, in the Keweenaw Peninsula, which is very remote. And I heard some variation on this message when we spoke in Milwaukee a couple weekends ago, was the UP is dead. And what folks meant by that was, in this era of cheap airfare, multi-mountain passes, where someone from the Twin Cities can easily get out to ski snowbird with their Icon Pass, they're a lot less incentivized to go up to the UP, which for a long time was a draw because of its natural snow. So broadening this out to the UP market, some of the ski areas do appear to be struggling. And I really want to get your thoughts on how these have evolved. So we have Porcupine Mountains, which has been taken over by the state of Michigan, which you ran for a little while.
Yeah.
We have Marquette, and I just hosted their GM, and they seem to be revitalized under new ownership. We have Norway, which has come back under new owner, who I think is doing a great job, Justin. And then we have Pine Mountain and Brule, and then we have Snow River and those, and we'll get to those in a second. But what do you think is the function of these ski areas? What should they try to be in 2025 when you're in a very remote area? You're competing for customers who can get bigger, better mountains pretty easily on an airplane. How do they position themselves in 2025, Lonnie?
It's a really good question. I mean, that's why we didn't buy any of those places, because we didn't know, we don't know how to do those places any better than those places are doing themselves. And there's a lot of good energy. There's a lot of improvements being made in the UP, and I highly recommend that people go to the UP and ski a bunch of places when they ski us, because they're really a lot of fun. But yes, the answer to your question is, I'm not sure how I would do it differently. When we built Bohemia, Indian Head Mountain was available in 2000, and this owner flew in to see us, and he gave us a whole pitch on why you could buy Indian Head for the same price as you're going to build Bohemia from scratch. And we said to him, "You've been running Indian Head for 20 years. Why are we as newbies to the industry going to do better than what you're doing? And you're the one getting out." I mean, he showed us unfortunately, a pretty significant decline. The answer is, I don't know the answer. That's why we bought Bohemia and built Bohemia.
All right, take a quick time out from Lonnie to talk about Bonfire Collective. If your marketing needs a fresh perspective from industry experts, if you need better storytelling, rebranding, or advertising, then you need to check out Bonfire Collective, a fractional marketing team that collaborates with ski areas and outdoor brands, including this one. When the storm was ready to fire up our digital marketing for the first time last year, we connected with Bonfire Collective. The results were fantastic. They are great. They are smart. They are great to work with. Nice folks. They can help brands much bigger than mine as well. For example, they took the marketing of one New Hampshire ski area and doubled revenue in 3 years. To reach out to Bonfire Collective, you will want to connect with Eric over at Bonfire Collective. You can find them at bonfirecollective.com or reach out to me. I will make that connection for you. All right, back to Lonnie.
So we've seen over the years and this has lessened, though it just happened recently in New York with the owner of Song in Labrador buying Toggenburg and closing it down, that there was an era in which ski area operators would purchase their competitors and close them down. And that happened quite a bit in Massachusetts and elsewhere in New England back in the 80s, 90s. And you told a funny story when we were in Milwaukee a couple weeks ago, and we'll release that separately so folks can go listen to that story. But about one of your competitors essentially saying, you're an idiot and what you're trying to do won't work. I get this sense, and that was about 25 years ago that happened. I get the sense, though, Lonnie, that there's been a little bit of a vibe shift in the ski industry, and that now that the number of ski areas has settled since around the turn of the century at around 500 ski areas, that there's an acknowledgement among operators, maybe a tacit acknowledgement, that you're not so much competitors as you complement each other and all play a different role in the ecosystem. But that's just my perception from talking to operators. Being in that, have you experienced any sort of vibe shift over the past 25 years as far as how the other operators talk to you and consider you and think about their relationship with Bohemia?
You know, we have a great relationship with many partner resorts. We partner with about 28 resorts. So I think there's definitely a lot of them like our customers coming in. We have a certain demographic that's a little bit weird that a lot of the Midwest areas don't get. I mean, 30% of Bohemia's customers tell us they don't ski anywhere else in the Midwest. Really? They just go out west. Okay. And they were done skiing in the Midwest. And now with the reciprocal program we have, they're trying these places again. They're going, oh my God, Ski Brule's great. Oh my God, Marquette Mountain is fun. Whitecap's amazing. So, you know, the problem with the Midwest internally is we're so focused on beginner skiers that we might turn off the advanced expert skiers, that it's not a cool place to go. Mm-hmm. And I think our reciprocal program, because we had a couple hundred people show up at Treetops in Gaylord, which is a great place for beginner skiers. They have some fun terrain. Our customers go there because it was 2 miles off the highway, and it's still a really fun place. So I think that there is more camaraderie now. We realize that our enemies are kids doing ice hockey. You know, if you said, what can we get rid of? If we could eliminate amateur youth hockey, the ski industry would do way better. You know, traveling basketball is a threat to us. These are our real threats, cruise ships, but other ski resorts are not our problem.
So you've partnered with a lot of these ski areas, and the list changes a little bit every year. It's really mostly focused in your neighborhood. You have some ski areas out west, Great Divide, Mount Spokane, Bogus Basin, for example, where your pass holders get a few days, and you've put some covenants in place that limit residential restrictions to try to make sure that people aren't buying them as a backdoor hack for lift tickets. Indy Pass had a little fight with Ski Cooper a few years ago, accusing them of creating a de facto national pass because it was priced around the same. They had 3 days each. The Ski Cooper pass holders get 3 days each at a bunch of ski areas. And Indy Pass gave their partners an ultimatum and said, you can only be on Cooper or our pass. I'm curious if they have approached you with any sort of concerns and how, if so, how you negotiated that.
I'll just leave that answer blank. And I'll just say the United States of America has a very good antitrust system, and companies can't talk or pressure other companies on price or offerings because luckily we live in a country of laws, and antitrust is very straightforward in how it views. If Delta approached United Airlines and say, you stay out of Detroit and we'll stay out of Chicago, it's called price fixing. And it's it's a big problem, and there's a lot of damages involved. So I would say I'm going to leave the answer blank, and life goes on.
So the restrictions on, for example, Great Divide, you're not supposed to be able to use that if you're a Montana or an Idaho resident. Do you get the sense that that's effective?
Yeah. I mean, those guys are really happy. The goal is we are not trying to, I can't speak for Ski Cooper's Pass, but our goal is to sell Midwest skiers on a chance to go out west.
Mhm.
Our goal is not to cherry pick people out of Great Divide neighborhood, which is why we black out Montana and Idaho
Mhm.
purposely. And we black out with Mount Spokane out in Washington, we black out the nearby states. Our goal is not to cherry pick the customers. Our goal is to drive new people to those resorts. And most of those resorts have been very happy with the following of Bohemia. And if you look at Bohemia's sales, 92% of our sales take place in the Midwest.
Mhm.
So we're not selling a bunch of passes in, say, Oklahoma.
Right. So this list changes a little bit every year. You mentioned Treetops. It doesn't look like they're a partner. Maybe they're just not approved yet for the coming season. You did add Snow Snake, one of a ski area that's very important to me personally, as it was the ski area that really made me want to be a skier as a 16-year-old, just bombing around with my friends. So talk about why Treetops may have left, why Snow Snake made sense to add, and just that churn in general.
Every skier has different strategies for the year, and we, I can't speak for Treetops. We are very grateful that we had him for a couple of years. Hope to get him back someday, but I'd still say Treetops, it skis a lot bigger than it's vertical. The terrain is actually really interesting, and they have some good steep runs, and they actually run a great operation. We're excited to welcome Snow Snake, based in mid-Michigan, into our partnership of reciprocal places. And they've got, a really fired up crew over there, and they run a great operation. So we're excited, and we hope our customers try Snow Snake this year.
Snow Snake's a survivor because when I was growing up in the Midland area, there was 3 ski areas. It was Snow Snake, Mott Mountain in Farwell, which was west, and then Apple Mountain, which was south in Freeland. And Apple and Mott are both closed down now. So Snow Snake, and they're all about the same size. So Snow Snake made it, and the rest didn't. And it's interesting, Lonnie, to look at who did survive and who didn't. I'm curious if, just having grown up in Michigan and talking to everybody in the industry, do you have a sense of what made Snow Snake the one that got through?
I mean, I'll use the example of Sugarloaf versus Crystal Mountain.
Yeah.
Because that's an example of a place that closed near Traverse City.
Mm-hmm.
Crystal Mountain had a long-term plan. It had the same ownership group year in and year out,
Mm-hmm.
and they were properly capitalized. Sugarloaf constantly had a turn of owners, and the owners were there for short-term profits. And so I can't exactly speak on what happened to Mott Mountain. I don't know much about it. I know you skied there.
Mm-hmm.
But Snow Snake seems like they're investing. They've got a lot of enthusiasm, and they keep marching on. And I don't know if they've had the same owner for a long time, but my guess is they probably have.
Yeah, I'm actually not familiar with the crew down there. I might ask for an intro. The Crystal and Sugarloaf comparison is really interesting to me, Lonnie, because for folks who are not from Michigan, I skied both of those as a teenager. And if you would have asked me what's the better ski area, I would have said Sugarloaf. It had more vertical, it had better terrain, had steeper terrain, it had a more interesting lift network. But Crystal made it, and Crystal expanded, and Crystal is an outstanding operation. It really goes to the importance of the operator, and I'm seeing this more and more, Lonnie, like you look at Norway, for example, it seems like someone finally figured it out. Coming into this as someone who was not part of the ski industry, what do you think you brought in that made you a successful operator? Were there things that you had to learn from other operators, or do you think you benefited from not knowing what you didn't know?
Well, in a weird way, I benefited from a failure. I failed in the Canadian Football League. The CFL had American teams. I was with the Shreveport team. All the American teams failed. All of them closed. Mm-hmm. So coming off that failure, you have a little bit more, you learn a lot when you fail. And what I learned is to talk to as many people as possible in the ski industry. And the Crystal Mountain owners were instrumental in many of our ideas that we had, even though we're different places. The Crystal Mountain owners told me a lot of things early on. Have a master plan, follow it. We invest every year back into Crystal. They taught me a lot of things. And Crystal Mountain is probably the best laid out ski resort that has lodging in the Midwest. Mm-hmm. Nubs Knob, Jim Bartlett. I talked to Jim Bartlett as much as I could to get ideas because I didn't know. I mean, it helped that I didn't know anything, Therefore, I had to ask questions, and I asked questions of people at Nubs Knob, at people at Crystal Mountain. I talked to Vern Barber before he was our GM, when he was GM of Marquette Mountain, because it's amazing though. If you ask people, they'll tell you. And I learned a lot by just asking questions, and I was lucky that people were willing to listen and give me some good answers. And we didn't have a normal ski background, so we did a lot of things differently, but we still listened to people that were experts in the industry, including the folks at Snow Engineering. SC Group, they're called.
I've been doing a lot of research on lost ski areas lately, and the ski industry, I think, is very vulnerable to lazy narratives around why it fails. And I think people are very quick to attribute it to climate change, when it seems to me that it's more of a failure to adapt to climate change. In other words, the operator that is the through line in the failed ski areas. But curious from your point of view, Lonnie, do you think that usually when ski areas fail, it's because the operator failed in more cases than the external world and other factors? Because a lot of ski areas that don't make a lot of sense are still in business, and a lot of ones that seem like they would be great ski areas are out of business. And it seems to me like it goes back to who's running it.
So first off, we see climate change as a threat.
Mm-hmm.
We are worried, but hopefully there'll be inventions and ways to slow this down, but we do see it as a threat.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, when we did our studies, the things we thought were the things that caused skiers to go out of business was, number one, and let's not necessarily call it a poor operator, let's call it undercapitalized.
Mm-hmm.
So not that the person's dumb, they just don't have the financial wherewithal. And this happened with Thunder Mountain and Walloon Hills near Boyne Mountain, that both those operators were never at the level of Boyne to properly capitalize. Nubs Knob, actually, which is in Michigan for the viewers who aren't familiar, was a struggling ski resort when the Fisher family bought it. Today, it's one of the most successful ski resorts in North America, but Nubs Knob was probably struggling from being undercapitalized under its original owner, Dory Sarnes. She did a great job at what she had to work with, but capital's capital. Nubs Knob came in with new owners, highly capitalized family, and they made Nubs Knob a super success. But Nubs Knob could have gone the way of Sugarloaf if it didn't have properly capitalized owners. So capitalization of ownership is number one. Number two issue would be location. Location is still key. Granite Peak, great example. It struggled before Lutsen bought it, but it does have a great location, and Lutsen invested heavily in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great success, part of it because it is in Wausau, which is a great city, right off the highway. Even I can't get lost going to Granite Peak because you can see it from the highway. So location and proper capitalization are probably the two things. Third thing is, as Crystal Mountain taught me early on, have a long-term plan.
And I would add the fourth here, Lonnie, I would think would be what you've done so well, which is brand, which is create this special place that is sort of unique and singular. Nubs Knob is a really good example because it's right across the street from Boyne's other Michigan ski area, Boyne Highlands, now called the Highlands. So a lot of ski areas, they were right next to each other. One of them survived and the other one didn't. So it seems like the brand piece of this is so important. I want to pick up on the climate change for a minute. So there's this famous snow stake for folks who haven't been up to the Keweenaw on US 41, and it's 390 inches tall, which records the record snowfall of the 1978 to 79 winter. I've seen different studies. My understanding of lake effect and the way it works is, and I talked about this with Marquette Mountain on the pod recently, is that it's cold air moving over warm water that causes the lake effect. When the lake freezes, that kind of dries up the system. Whereas with warmer waters and climate change, it might actually increase the amount of lake effect. Now that you have 25 years of data, Lonnie, what are you seeing long-term of snowfall in the Keweenaw as far as, how you're looking at, like what is happening and how are you looking at the future based on that?
So far, we're not seeing a major difference.
Mm-hmm.
Knock on wood. So far, we're as snowy. If you take our last 10 years, we're 25 years old, 25
Mm-hmm.
seasons now. If you took our last 10 years versus our first 10 years, there's no rhyme or reason that the one 10 is better than the other 10. So we're not seeing a decline there, and I'll jinx us. So I got to knock on wood. But we are worried for the future, but we haven't seen the negative yet, even though our weather service that we use out of Wausau, which is Great Lakes Weather, they're great. They explain that there's just a little bit more potential for rain now than there was. You're still getting the same amount of snow. There's just more warm days than there was in the past. We're not seeing a shorter season yet. The concern is more the ocean, the ski resorts near the ocean. Mm-hmm. They're going to probably have the effects of climate change first, because a lot of those resorts get snow at, say, 31 degrees. So 2 degrees above gets some rain. So,
mm-hmm.
We're normally getting snow at 20 or 22 degrees. So a 1 or 2 degree bump keeps us still in the safe range. But we are concerned, and we still are hopeful that there'll be solutions to climate change, as we think it makes everybody's life better, whether you're a homeowner in Florida or a skier in the Midwest or out west. Everybody benefits when we get things under control.
Yeah, you've had an interesting couple of years, because last winter seemed like it was pretty good, and the one before that may have been your shortest winter as far as operating days.
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah. But you're still able to make improvements, and you've made a bunch of them recently. Let's talk about the triple chair, Lonnie. And I think there was some confusion about this out in the marketplace. I, for some reason, thought you were building the new chair beside the old chair, but you actually rebuilt the chair on the same line. So talk about the triple chair renovation, what you set out to do, and why you made that investment.
So we basically replaced the triple chair. Is completely brand new. It's from SkyTrack, mm-hmm. except for the towers and chairs. Everything mm-hmm. else, computer circuits, safety circuits, brakes, gearboxes, bottom terminal, top terminal, all that's brand new. And we left in the parts that were fine, which was the chairs and towers. Eventually we'll make a change there, but those, knock on wood, are going good. So it's basically a brand new chairlift with just the older chairs and the towers. The chairs are from 1996. Mm-hmm. The place that had it before us had put new chairs on in 1996. So those chairs are not even that old.
And how much did that save you, Lonnie, from putting in a brand new chairlift? Oh,
it was, basically it's $1.2 million to do the rest of the job.
Okay.
So we spent about $2.3 million, and another $1.2 million would have done that. We used that money. We thought it was a better use of the money was to put it into the Nordic Spa.
Did you get a sense from SkyTrack that they were okay doing that? Because the manufacturers, when I talk to them, they seem to not like doing Frankenstein jobs or moving old lifts even. And I know you actually had moved that lift, as you mentioned, from Canada. But did you have to talk them into that, or were they okay with it?
No, Carl Skyling, the president of SkyTrack, he and I talked, but the third phase was replace the towers and chairs. And we both were like, if those are going good, that's not really, you're going to get a good bang for your buck. We're better to move over to the double, replace the double with an up and over chairlift mm-hmm. to the Haunted Valley, and use that $1.2 million as part of the, say, $3.6 million new chairlift over there.
All right, so let's talk about that, because that's the first I've heard you refer to an up and over. You've talked about the Haunted Valley chairlift before and wanting to do that. It sounds like you've evolved a little bit. So lay out your current thinking around the double that exists and the backside chair, the Haunted Valley chair.
The Haunted Valley chair, which is our north side, if it had a chairlift, would require its own generator.
Okay.
How are you going to get fuel to the generator during the season? It's a 1.5 mile roadway we have to build to get there. So at the end of the day, we're like, for the amount of money we're going to spend to build the new trail from the Haunted Valley, plus $600,000 or $800,000 in extra expenses for generator and road service and electricity to be brought back there, we're better to split that money towards the double. You got $1.2 million you saved at the triple. You're now at $2 million. Now you're only $1.6 million away from fully replacing the double and getting a lift in the Haunted Valley. It'd be an up and over lift. It'd have 2 loading stations, 2 unloading stations, but keeping the same generator, which is on the road of Lac La Belle. So it works out very efficiently, and your extra cost to do one big lift, at the end of the day, you're getting a lot of efficiency with that lift, and the extra cost makes sense to do it that way versus just Haunted Valley by itself.
It's been a long time since anyone built an up and over lift, Lonnie, and I wasn't even aware that they still would. As far as I know, there's a couple at Little Switzerland. There's a couple more in the Midwest, and then Stevens Pass has one. Did the Skytrack seem open to building you a full up and over lift?
Yeah, we've done Carl Skyline. We've talked about it, and we have plans to look into doing that. And that's our next big lift. Will be going that way.
Would that be a double chair?
Probably a triple. Probably a triple chair, but it could be a double. I want to say for sure.
Yeah,
that's not been decided.
And you think it would be an all new lift?
Be a whole new lift. Yeah, totally. You can't do that with an old lift. You have to fully take it out and put all new stuff in.
So with that in mind, the double chair in general seems less busy than the triple. Would you take that as an opportunity to rethink where the double loads currently down by the road, or do you like that location? Is that the right location?
We think it's the right location. I mean, we think it's the right location, but never say never. It's always good to look at things, but we think that's the good spot.
Okay. You got any kind of timeline for this, Lonnie?
Well, if you can predict the winners of the next 3 years, then I can tell you. But if we have 3 really good winners, you could see it in 4 years. If we have 2 bad winners and 1 good winner, you're going to see it later. So I'd say anywhere between 3 and 6 years would be our goal to do this.
All right, we'll take another break from Lonnie here to talk about Profile Search International. Most of you did not found your own ski area, but if you are looking to make a name for yourself in the ski industry, you will want to connect with the folks at Profile Search International. If you are a ski area looking for your next leader, Profile Search International is your place. They are the ski industry talent acquisition experts. They're in fact the only executive search and recruitment firm in the world that is 100% focused on the ski industry. You know what? The ski industry is changing rapidly. Sometimes you don't even know what sorts of skills you need, but they do, and they know who's available, who has the right skills to transform your organization, as they have been helping ski areas do for the past 30 years. Profile Search International has offices in both the US and Canada. You can reach out to them directly at profilesearch.com, contact them by email or phone, or send me a note and I will connect you directly with this expert team. All right, back to Lonnie.
Your summit's a little tight, but it's also really great. The view is really great. And you mentioned last time you were on the podcast a long-term aspiration to build a day lodge up there. What's your current thinking around that? Would that have to follow the lift so you could finalize that architecture and then build the lodge somewhere around it?
We kind of know a spot we'd have it just off of the double. We'd have a spot. We almost did a restaurant up there.
Okay.
We changed our mind. 2 of our employees, Luke Escala and Jeff Escala, said, why not build a restaurant at the Nordic Spa where you're busy year round versus on the top where you're open during the winter time and for summer lift rides. I'm like, guys, no, we're building up top. And then I'm like, I started thinking more about it. I think they were right because we're open year round at the base, and dinner time we're open at the base, lunchtime we're open at the base. At the top, you're only open when the lift's running. So those guys had a good suggestion, and we moved forward with that idea. We built a Tiki bar. They'll be ready for Christmas. They'll have tacos, and above it will be a rooftop bar, the Beach Club we're calling it, and it'll be the first Tiki bar at a slopeside ski resort in North America, and we're fine with that.
So let's talk about the Nordic Spa, and you've mentioned this several times, and I've noticed a disconnect between social media and real life in a lot of ways. And one of the best expressions of it is the Nordic Spa at Mount Bohemia. If you only existed online and read the comments on Mount Bohemia's social page, you would get the idea that this Nordic Spa is some super controversial thing. You go there and everyone's having a great time and they're sitting in the hot tub and they're having their après and everyone appears to love it. So talk about the reality of the Nordic Spa and the disconnect between how it's discussed online and how it's actually used by your pass holders.
Yeah, online you would think it's the most hated thing we got going. No one's going to be using it. You go there, it's actually quite popular. That's why you'd be very careful about. There used to be call-in shows to radio stations because who calls into a radio station? But a lot of times it's like this one guy once said, it's guys living in their mom's basement. They call them the sports radio shows.
Right.
So there's a lot of people, they just don't want more skiers at Bohemia, but the Nordic Spa has been very popular. And it's a great opportunity for people who don't want to ski all day. It's a great opportunity for people who don't ski at all to come with their friends who do ski. And then those that ski, it's a great place to go afterwards. And once again, for those that hate the Nordic Spa, there's no requirement to use it. I go to many resorts that have yoga in the morning. They don't wake me up, make me go down there and do yoga. You don't have to use it. It's an amenity, guys. Let's get over it. And I can't figure out what the problem is, other than that they just want less people at Mount Bohemia.
So why is the spa the direction to go in, Lonnie? Because I'd imagine you could have done a number of things. You could have built a hotel. You could have built condos. You could have built a big traditional lodge with a cafeteria. Talk about the decision to go with the spa. And you seem to be continuing to expand it. So what has that done to distinguish Bohemia, and why is that direction you went in?
It makes Bohemia just it has great synergy. It makes it a really fun place to go. And you're skiing all day. And then at night you're hanging out with this really weird Nordic spa in the middle of nowhere that's got 4 saunas, 4 pools, exfoliation room, a relaxation room. So it's the combination that makes it just a really unique experience. And wellness is growing rapidly across the United States. So Nordic spas are a big thing, but it's very big in Europe. This is not an unusual thing to see these things, but we think the synergy is great, and it's really been a good thing for us, and it's fun. At the end of the day, fun is not as bad as it sounds.
So why this instead of a base lodge?
Because base lodge is boring.
Yeah.
How much fun is a base lodge? Right?
Yeah.
They're all kind of the same, and they're all kind of they're adequate, but they're adequate. And we used to say in the Canadian Football League, and it's an old saying in football, good enough to get you beat.
Right.
So to me, that just it's boring, and we try and avoid being boring at all costs.
All right, so let's talk about the rezoning request that was denied by the Keweenaw County Board of Commissioners. Just lay this out for us, Lonnie. What happened? What are you trying to achieve, and what's next?
So we have 1,100 acres at Bohemia. 1,020 is in commercial resort service zoning. That's for ski resorts. 80 acres at the very end of our property is zoned resort residential, which allows for development of single-family homes, allows for neighborhoods, but does not allow for commercial activity. It makes no sense to leave this 80 acres in a different zoning. We wanted to put a parking lot in this year to handle our overflow days. We can't do it because it's in the wrong zoning, as an example. So we want to make it all contiguous, all one zoning, which makes a lot of sense. Development plans down there are years and years and years away because it's literally 2 miles from our base area. We have a lot of land to develop before we get there. We have built buildings on 5 acres of land out of 1,100. We have a long ways to go to get to that last 80. And that's it. We want to get it, but there's people in the community that still fight Bohemia, that still don't want us to exist. And they fight everything. They fight parking lots. They're mad. They complain that there's cars overflowing at Bohemia on busy days, and that people are parking on the sides of roads. We offer a new parking lot. They fight the new parking lot. It doesn't matter. They just don't want us to be there. And I wish they would just come talk to us and figure out common ground, because we're not going away. They're not going away. We should find common ground, and life should go on.
So let me read you a quote from a Snowbrains article that summarized this planning commission meeting. This is from a fellow, Jim Curtis, who said this in the planning commission meeting, quote, "You don't do things just because," this is him explaining why he voted no. "You do things because you have plans, because you have thoughts, at least down the road. If there are thoughts and plans for what's going to happen with this property, let's see it," end quote. So you've talked a lot about master planning and the importance of that. I also read in the local paper that in Michigan, to request a rezoning, you don't have to have a specific plan. So you were within your rights to do this. But I guess the question is, why not just say what you want to do with the property, or give a general idea, but just in general reply to that quote?
Because we don't have a plan. Our master plan that we had done in 2022 shows that area as vacant. That's the reality. And if I tell the people something and then we change what it is, which we do a lot of times, people say, "Oh, you tricked us." No, our master plan, which I have, that's on paper from 2022, shows that area along the road as nothing right now. It's nothing. There's a much greater chance of it getting developed as resort residential with homes than it does as resort commercial, besides, say, a parking lot, besides some extra ski runs. But, so we don't have a plan out there, because, we didn't have a plan to build a tiki bar in January. It came about in April of 2025. Things can change like that with capitalism. But at the end of the day, there's no incentive to build 2 miles from your base area and leave everything else vacant when you have plenty of land closer to base. But yes, want to be clear that someday that land on Sandpoint Road, which is very, very valuable, is going to get developed, whether it's single family homes or whether it's rental cabins. It will get developed one way or the other. But I would say if it was zoned resort service, I could guarantee it wouldn't be developed for at least 5, if not 10 years down the road, maybe even longer, maybe never, if the resort doesn't grow enough.
Yeah, the way that these things work, just because you're zoned for it doesn't mean it's approved, right? So when you did decide, you would have to submit the plans and they would have to be approved again?
Site plan approval, absolutely. All this does is allow you, but what it does allow, it allows hiking trails. Like right now in resort residential, you're not supposed to have hiking trails or ski runs or any of that stuff. So it does limit our ability to build out trails on our far eastern end of our property, which is not good for anybody. The community, which can use it for free, and then the future ski runs that our skiers and riders get to use.
So you've bought a lot of buildings around there. It seemed like, Lonnie, when I was there last winter, that perhaps maybe used to be residential, maybe they were hotel. I don't know what they were used for exactly. I'm curious, when you first came up to Bohemia in 2000, I don't think there was a lot going on there in the winter. I think Bohemia's brought a lot of activity up there. And at the same time, we've seen the advent of short-term rentals and a really changing of how people in general approach the notion of vacations and how they stay and where they stay. What have you observed? Like, what have the impacts been on the Keweenaw as far as the longtime residents and the way that tourists either complement or compromise whatever quality or way of life they may have been accustomed to?
I don't think it's changed things much at all, because a lot of the neighbors are doing Airbnb for summer residents, for summer guests. And I think most Airbnb people are pretty quiet, pretty good. So I think it's had very little impact, because keep in mind, our parking lot, for the viewers who have not been there, our parking lot is before you get to the town of Lac La Belle. So 90% of the people coming to ski us never even go into the town of Lac La Belle at all. And then our skiers that are staying in our cabins, most of them are on the mountain, a few are on the water. Once again, very few actually travel into the town. So the traffic increase on, say, Sandpoint Road, where the rezoning is, has been, I would say, minimal. And the only increase in traffic has been because locals, some of who oppose us, also have Airbnb. Some of our biggest opponents have Airbnbs and are renting to our skiers, and then they're complaining about our skiers. It's kind of a strange controversy, but it is.
How has the local area in the Keweenaw changed as far as in relation to other resort towns around the United States where the housing prices, because so many homes that used to be houses were converted to Airbnbs, is there a shortage of housing stock up there? Like, are you able to find workers? Do you have to start providing some of that? What's the situation like for just residential real estate?
Housing's really tough up there. I don't blame Airbnb, to be clear, because most seasonal workers are not going to buy a lakefront home. Let's be realistic. Lakefront homes have definitely grown dramatically in the last 10 years. But reality is there's been no affordable housing been built there since I've been there in 25 years. So there needs to be affordable housing built in Keweenaw County, in our county that we're in. There needs to be apartments built. There needs to be rental homes built. That's a big missing thing, and it does help. It does hurt us with attracting workforce.
Yeah. All right, Lonnie, let's wrap up here today by picking up on something that we discussed in Milwaukee, and that's the long-term future of Mount Bohemia. And a lot of ski areas that are started, most ski areas have moved on from their founders, right? Their founders are long gone because they were started in the 1940s, 50s, 60s. Bohemia is one of the few ski areas that's been started in the last 25 years. So we have this rare founder here, and you've created this very special thing. And you've outlined in this podcast before that Bohemia was imagined as a more traditional ski area, grooming, snowmaking, all those sorts of things. You talked about perhaps a different model that would secure Bohemia's future. And that was a couple of weeks ago. And I sprung that question on you a little bit, but I'm curious if you've been thinking about it and what your thoughts are on what Bohemia could look like after you're gone, because you don't have that next generation to pass it down to.
Yeah, good question. I mean, my ex-wife, who worked with me for 9 years at the mountain, she was nicknamed as the Gremlin because she can be a bitch when someone crosses the line, and she's very black and white. But because of her personality and her knowledge of the system, she would be great to step in if something happened to me, because while she can be abrasive, while she can be difficult, she believes in the brand, and she would not worry if someone didn't like her. Like, one thing about her, she even cares less than I do about being popular, and she would do a great job of stepping in there and keeping the brand the way it is. Another ex-girlfriend, Meredith Baldwin, who was also with me for a couple of years helping to operate the place, is the opposite of Lindsay, and she could also be helpful in making sure there's a little bit of a niceness to the resort and customer relations. But the goal would be for that process to be taken to then a co-op where we would sell off the place. Lindsay would be managing, but would sell off the place to like a co-op where the skiers would be kind of the same partnership as Med River Glen. That's kind of the, and I don't spend a lot of time trying to focus on death, even though it approaches all of us eventually. But that would be the general plan if everybody thought that made sense.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to put you underground too soon, Lonnie. I think at some point you might just want to retire, right? That's more what I had in mind when I was referring to that, because Betsy Pratt, who founded the Mad River Glen Co-op, or at least enabled its founding, she just passed recently, and that became a co-op in 1995. So it was maybe a way for her to observe the process and see that it worked, and it's proven very successful. I mean, why is that where you'd want to go with Mount Bohemia, Lonnie, rather than just selling it to the highest bidder? Because in a lot of ways, you're just, I don't want to say just, but you're a smart businessman, right? Like, you started this brand because you saw a market opportunity, not because you were an extreme skier necessarily, but because you saw a niche in the market, an opening in the market for a ski area, for experts I'm assuming you want a return on your investment at some point if you were to sell it. Going co-op might not give you as much of a payout.
Well, if I'm gone, what is it? I mean, Stuart, if I'm gone, I'm gone.
Yeah. Well, okay. But why does it matter to you that Bohemia, what Bohemia becomes?
Well, I'm saying if I'm gone, I know that a lot of things would be changed. Like I'm very particular about, you got to order through your phone or a kiosk.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about discipline and simplicity. And the ex-wife understands that model and she knows it works. Season Pass sells 10 days long. I could see them changing that, doing all this, watering everything down, and we don't want to dilute the brand. Mm-hmm. And our customers don't want us to dilute the brand. And so a co-op would work probably the best because we have a very similar, you've been to both places, Mad River Glen and Mount Bohemia customers have a very similar kind of passion for their ski resorts. Mm-hmm. And they also are very true to the sport. And I think that's a better fit for Bohemia than maybe a conglomerate coming in and trying to purify Mount Bohemia and making it more normal, let's call it, as a normal ski resort.
But why does that matter to you?
Well, I mean, I just, I hate to see it. Not that I'll see it, but I hate to, know that, if I was looking down and I could see it being ruined in terms of sort of boring place, I'd be disappointed. So that's all. I just think that would be the way to try and keep it what it is and keep that spirit going. I would hate to see Bohemia change. Don't want the run names changed. One of them's named after my old dog, Ben, mm-hmm. who, by the way, was adopted 9 times. I didn't know that when I adopted him, but he ended up being a pretty good dog. But there's a run named after my dog, Ben. I'd be very upset if they changed that name. So certain things are important to me, and keeping the spirit alive and the no grooming is part of what makes Bohemia what it is. And I hate to see that change.
All right, let's walk off on the pass sale. Lonnie, you mentioned the deadline is the deadline, and you gave me a number. I don't know if you want to repeat that here, but the amount of money you left on the table last year by telling people after the deadline, no, I'm sorry, the deadline's the deadline. Talk about why you are so insistent on that deadline and what would happen if you didn't stick to that.
Our word is our word, both good and bad. If we say it ends, it ends. And we have partner resorts that need to know who's coming this year, and we got to get that moving. And like I say, we don't put up empty deadlines. When I negotiated with football players back in my CFL days, I was taught by people in the football industry that you don't give false deadlines. If you give a deadline with that agent, you better live by it. In fact, you're better not to give deadlines when you're negotiating with football players, because if you lose the deadline, they know you're not for real. These are real deadlines. We mean it, and it's a great deal, but it's only for 10 days. It's a great deal, but come midnight, December 6th, it's going to stop. That's the way it is, and we follow that, and that's been Bohemia's policies of discipline. No cash. You order through your phone or through a kiosk. And no grooming. We have very weird, but we have rules, and we follow those.
So it used to be that if you missed the pass, you could still buy a season pass for like $350 or something. Is that gone now?
That's gone. Yeah.
Okay. And why did you get rid of that?
It just, logistics was a nightmare.
Okay.
Because the partner resorts, how are we going to do that now? Get a hold of, those poor people don't want to be bothered by us. So we just say, it's over. It's over. We march on.
Okay. All right. If I let you go again without talking about my Bohemia TV, I think my guy's going to get cranky with me again. It's a great product. Does an outstanding job. It's a little confusing right now because there's a bunch of YouTube pages. So talk about Bohemia TV, how that's been important to your brand, Lonnie, and what's going on with it right now.
So Joey Walls, we hired Joey Walls to make these episodes with us. Joey does a great job. A little slow at getting episodes done. We're still battling to get those out there. Joey gets on that YouTube conspiracy stuff about like Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, and he gets distracted. He's got worse ADD than I do. But Joey is the heart of Bohemia. He knows how to bring the video, not just good video shooting, but the heart of Bohemia. And look, Mount Bohemia TV is meant to be what it's like there. It's not meant to be an infomercial. It's meant to be what it is, good and bad. There's times when there's customer arguments. It's in there. There's different problems in there. It's meant to be reality TV as best you can have at a ski resort. And Joey does a great job. We're waiting for the Italy episode to drop. It's virtually ready. We went to Italy as we have trips to go to Italy and France and Japan. And then we also have a regular episode coming out, and Joey does a great job, but he lost the password. The long answer to your question is, why do we have multiple channels? Because Joey unfortunately lost the password to the previous channels.
I wonder, there's got to be someone who can help you sort that out somewhere.
I got bigger fish to fry than getting down to that level of detail. I got to keep the ski resort moving forward. But yes, we should give Joey some direction on how to figure that out. But he's a great producer. He's a great video designer. He needs to stay away from that damn YouTube, whether it's Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, or 5G giving us all cancer. He needs to stay away from that stuff. It ruins him. Otherwise, he's phenomenal.
I had a great time skiing around with Joey and his family last year. So great time up at Boho. Look, I know you're busy, Lonnie. You got a lot to do. Let's do this again, though, at some point. I think Bohemia is just such a cool story, one of the great ski areas in American skiing, and I always enjoy catching up with you. So thanks so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Stuart. Look, I'm glad to have you, and hopefully we'll have a great winter season.
That was the famous Lonnie Gleiberman, founder, owner, and president of Mount Bohemia, Michigan. It is not often anymore that you can talk to the founder of a resort, and we are very fortunate that we have access to Lonnie. Lonnie, thank you so much for that. Listeners, lots more pods coming your way. You will want to subscribe to the Storm Skiing newsletter at stormskiing.com to get those podcasts the moment they're live. You can also follow the Storm on X, Instagram, and YouTube at Storm Ski Journal. Till next time, stay well, stay safe. I'm Stuart Winchester, and I'll talk to you again very soon.
The Storm Skiing Podcast is a Quicksilver Films production.